personality can be made up of lots of different parts, and it's something that you grow into over time. You can become comfortable in your own skin, but first you have to grow into it. A key aspect of moulding your personality is your lived experience. Every interaction, every emotion, everything you've been exposed to, they all have a chance of rubbing off on you and changing who you are as a human being. Signs of the Sojourner is a card-based game wrapped up in a narrative experience that trades on one idea, that every interaction with another leaves an impression on you and fundamentally changes you. To forward the branching story, you must chain together cards that have symbols on either side of them and match them up. Continue the chain and you'll have a like-minded, positive conversation. You'll have a shared worldview. If you can't match the symbols and repeatedly break the chain, however, you'll disagree and not find common ground. At the start of the game, you haven't left your hometown and your best friend has been by your side for years. They're all you've ever known. As a result, the conversations you have with your local village folk are easy to deal with. Symbols are similar, and so are moods and views, as they're broadly the same. At the end of every conversation, you must choose a card of theirs to take with you and lose one past experience of your own. That interaction, therefore, has changed you as a person and left an embellished impression on you. As you progress from city to city, meeting new people on your journey, more and more symbols pop up in conversation. These are experiences, worldviews, ideas and thoughts that you've simply never experienced before. The further you go from home, the more alien the language, the culture, the differing opinions. Instead of being able to mirror and match other characters, conversations can completely break down, and if that happens repeatedly, the characters can become hostile and refuse to engage with you in future. Signs of the Sojourner translates the card's symbols as personality traits, but I feel like this principle of soaking up the world around you applies to so much more in real life. Even when something goes wrong, you can still take away something from that experience, as each interaction moulds your personality. One thing quickly becomes apparent: you can't please everyone. By trying to cater to everyone's personality styles and needs, you'll have a couple of cards for each, but that's not really enough to sustain a truly connected conversation. You'll feel watered down, having to placate and please everyone, and quite often towing the middle ground satisfies no one in particular, least of all yourself. There's an element of frustration that starts to creep in as you pander to someone being direct when all you want to be is creative or empathetic. The idea that your way of life passes on a bit of you to them and vice versa means that you can use it in your arsenal, but you don't need to bring it out in the future conversations if you don't want to. Nowhere is this more apparent than when you come across someone whose cards signify distress or grieving. It's one of those real-life situations where you often don't know how it feels until you've felt it yourself. And so in the game, having that experience means that it can leave a lasting effect on you, just like in real life. However, in the game, just like in real life, you can also choose to take it with you. Does that mean that you'll whip out the distress card when someone else greets you? No, but perhaps having that card that starts off as a distress symbol and changes the chain into an empathetic one might be a great way of bringing levity and peace to a conversation. It could be, though, that that character simply doesn't have empathy cards yet, and maybe all of their cards are full of distress and grief. But in offering it, if they too were the player, perhaps they would choose to take that card with them and let that experience change them too. One of the difficult balancing acts in the game is deciding in which past experiences, and therefore personality traits and cards, to let go of. There's no right or wrong way to play this, but as I shed more of my original card deck, I was reminded of how much I'd changed every time I returned home. My best friend would try to have a conversation about staying in town and making the best of things, but my emotional language no longer matched his. The further I moved away from my origins, the more fractious our friendship became, and that was a sad thing to see unfold. It reminds me of stories that I hear quite often of people no longer feeling connected to their hometown or their family as their views and world ideas differ. So it's with intrigue, curiosity, and integrity that I approach talking to and meeting new people every day. One of the reasons why Signs of the Sojourner hit home for me so hard was that I grew up being a people pleaser, and to some degree I still am. I often shapeshift between different circles of people, but as I've grown older, that shapeshifting has left me tired. Much like how I initially played the character in this game on my first playthrough, I tried in real life to do a little bit of everything for everyone. It's just not sustainable as a human being. Instead, I've learned to put forward the best version of myself that I could cobble together in that particular time, but one that is always and still fundamentally me. My personality, my pitfalls, my mannerisms, my logic, my world. As I meet other people and get to experience life from their perspective and their logic, it does add to my world, it adds colour to it. But unlike our character in this game, I don't have to let go of past experiences to gain that new perspective. As human beings, it's a great privilege to be able to form a rounded opinion and personality based on nuance and subtlety. I can still be me and slowly finesse who I want myself to be over time. You won't please everyone, and you can't fit into everyone else's mould. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. There's a place in the grave for everyone, and where you sit in it is never permanent.